everybody. Terilee Harrison here with Supporting Speakers Live. As you know, I am passionate about supporting speakers everywhere. And today we have an amazing topic and an amazing guest that I know is going to be of interest to all of my speaker friends and colleagues. I want you to meet Lyndsi Weise. She is a Facebook group strategist, business coach, and social selling leader. Welcome, Lyndsi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It is so great to have you here. Lyndsi's coming to us from the very warm state of Arizona today. I'm feeling the heat in Houston too, and probably a lot of people here across the U.S. are feeling it. So we are all. I hope everyone's enjoying some nice air conditioning or at a minimum a good fan, right, Lyndsi?
Yeah, right. I got a fan blowing right now above me.
That's right. Yeah, me too. I am excited to talk to you about Facebook groups because if there's anything speakers need, it's to build a community.
Yeah.
And so as they're building out their speaking business and they might have their book, they might have a podcast or a live stream. We want that community of people that are raving fans that are going to be wanting to hear from us. And so Facebook groups are an excellent way to do that. Could we start and could you share with us, how'd you get started in having this be a specialty?
Yes. So in 2011, 12 years ago, I was on Facebook and I was looking around and I had gotten this message that was this very robotic, like, hey, you should look into these products and join my team. And here's the links and all the things that we get that we're like, what is that? And we run the other direction. And so 12 years ago, that wasn't as common as it is today, but it still was like, is this person real? What's going on? And so I chose to kind of pay attention and just follow and figure out like, what are they talking about? I was coming from the corporate background. My company had moved out of the state. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I was looking for a different way to have a career for when I would become a mom. At the time, I was just a newlywed. I wasn't a mom yet, but I was following this story that this person consistently would share on Facebook. We didn't have Instagram back then. We didn't have TikTok, none of that. We had Facebook. And she kept sharing this story about how she was working around the kids' schedule and they were going shopping on payday and like this whole thing. And it was the vision that was being painted was so intriguing to me. And for months, I was like, is this a thing? Is online business like a real thing, or is she just talking? And because she shared this story over and over and over, week after week after week, I believed her. I was like, okay, she would not keep talking about this if this wasn't real. So I finally was like, okay, I don't know exactly what you're doing here, but if you could tell me more. And we talked and she would follow up with me. And in April of 2011, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this. So I signed up for my direct sales business in April 2011. And the first thing they told us to do was to message everyone and, do the thing that everybody cringes at. And I remember thinking to myself, like, well, fair enough. People need to know what I'm doing. And I know I need to make a post and I need to do some things. And I was like, but how could I do this differently? How could I just slightly make this different and not so salesy and icky and all the feelings that like we want to help people feel better, right? And so I created a group and I set up a community and I branded it right away to me, to what I wanted it to be about. And from there, I launched it out and I started to invite people to be a part of that community. And the people who joined were there exactly for what I was teaching, sharing, supporting them in. And what I found was they would start to become customers. They would start to become teammates. And when they would become teammates, I was able to show them like, here's how I'm doing this. And they were duplicating this method. And I didn't realize that I had started creating this system and this method because when you're in it, you're in it. But A couple years into it, I gave birth to twins, and that was a whole like other experience, right? And I needed to breathe and just kind of navigate that world of twins in the NICU and just the whole thing. And because of the systems with the group setting, with the communities, this team that I was building was really able to do their thing and didn't need me as much. It created a lot of great independence. They understood what they needed to do to build their own businesses, which was so nice. And so a couple years after that, I had hired a coach to help me because I wanted to get my business to an even bigger level. I had actually hit some pretty high levels following this method, using this system, but I was ready to like even get higher. So I hired her, and I remember the first thing she said was, well, how did you get where you're at right now? Because you're doing really, really well. And, the company was asking me to speak, and I felt like I had nothing. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And she was like, no, you're doing something. What are you like? Walk me through your steps. What is everybody doing? And I was like, oh yeah. So we have communities. We each, they're branded to each person differently. And I walked her through the steps, and she's like, why aren't you teaching this to people? And I was like, no. She's like, this is what you teach. And so I realized like I had created a system and a method, and then I finally put it into a course, and I launched it this year in April. And yeah, so I've moved and expanded into coaching others outside of the team through the course, through private coaching, and just helping them see how they can streamline by bringing people into a community and how they can create consistent sales doing that, how they can grow the community, what should we be doing inside this community, different things like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's just take a breather and just say, wow, so you have twins. Do you have other kids too?
Just twins.
Oh, that's enough, right? maybe, or maybe at the time it was.
When I'm looking at schedules, I'm like, I only have twins.
Yeah, I know. I just want to acknowledge that. We said, oh, and I had twins. Oh my goodness. Okay. So thank you for sharing your story. And so, you're right. Sometimes we are in the middle of things and we don't know that we developed a system. Sometimes it takes someone outside, right? Sometimes it takes someone outside to say, to show us like some of the obvious things, because they can see it, right? We're in the middle of the forest and they can see the whole view. So I would love it if you could share some tips with my speakers. And let's talk about, there are people who just know they want to develop a Facebook group community. And so how would you guide them so that they can brand that so that people want to join? Because there's so many groups out there, right? I always tell people that bigger might not be better. Don't just fall for that, right? Go in and join some and see the culture and see what things are about. You can always like pick your favorites and come back out. But how in the world do we get started in starting something that people would want to come be part of?
Yeah. So what I recommend is you look at like, what are you going to be speaking about? Or if you've written a book or if you're in the process, like what are we mainly talking about? Is it business? Is it a health topic? Like, what does that look like? And so, we take that and you want to brand in a way that people understand, okay, this is what's going to go on in this group, right? So for example, an entrepreneurial group, there's some groups out there that, they'll use the word entrepreneur, they'll use the word female entrepreneur or different words like that. And it helps you to know like, okay, this is where other female business owners are, and I'm going to be learning something about business. Whereas somebody who is wanting to dive into gut health and that's their thing and that's what they want to talk about, you're going to find the title is going to be something along those lines. I have one who I think she calls it the gut health mama or something like that. So we know she's a mom and she's going to be talking about mom life stuff. And we know gut health is important to her. So we know what's coming if we join this group, right? The gut healthy mama, I think, or something it's called. I have another student who is in the midst of getting ready to do a fun challenge in her group. all around intermittent fasting. So you can see right away, like, okay, I want to learn about that. I'm going that direction. I want to learn about gut health. I'm going that direction. If you want to learn how to increase your sales or how to get better at speaking, you want your group to be something along those lines because it is searchable and people will be able to find that and determine like, oh, this is the right group for me. Right. And that's important because at the end of the day, you're right. Like, does it matter the size of your group? No. What matters is that ideal potential clients, students, like business partners are coming in and are the right fit for your offers. That's what really matters. So yeah.
I totally agree with that. I had a group that I had built over the last maybe 4 years, and it was like for networking, like online global networking. And when I wanted to begin talking to them about speaking, I would talk about speaking and get crickets. And I was like, I would rather start fresh with my ideal audience than be talking to these guys because this isn't what they're here for, right? So I think that's awesome, and I appreciate what you're saying, and certainly getting started with the right branding is critical, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So good. So we start our group, we get it going. How in the heck do we grow it?
Yeah. So what you're going to do is, oh my gosh, there's so many things to do to grow a group, but I'll give you a couple. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to launch, and we're going to tell everyone about it. So you know who within your influence, within your circle, like who wants to be a part of that. Like we want people to know there's a community that they can join where you're sharing very specific things. And it could be, it could even be, postpartum motherhood mixed in with trying to build a new business or nutrition or whatever we're doing. And we want people to know that. So we want them to simply talk about it everywhere on your stories, in your posts, in an email blast. Let people know we're opening up a community. You're going to be going live in there. You're going to be sharing. What are you going to be sharing? Like, consider the tips, the tricks, the hacks, different events you might create in there, and what part of you, that human side of you too, so people get to know, like, storytelling is a huge thing. And so you get the word out through that way. You can link your group to your cover photo, so then people who come upon your page know, like, oh, she or he has a community I can join. I talk about it in stories. I say twice a week just because Instagram, TikTok, these other apps, they are great. They serve a purpose different from creating a community, but people will come upon your pages and go peek at your stories. And if you are speaking to them, one of the things that happens is, I do this all the time where I'm like, oh, such a great page. And then the next day I'm like, who was that I followed?
Right.
And by going into their community, when they, like, I don't know that they have communities, but if you keep talking about it, like when you're getting ready to go live, you're like, okay, I'm going live. I'm going to be in the community. Join me over here. Here's a link. It's just like consistently doing that will help. And this is more of the organic way of growth. If you're having conversations with people, if you're out networking, if you're at a networking event and you're connecting with people, you want them to know, like, oh yeah, I have a community. You should totally join it. I'll send you information when I get back, right? And you get their information, and now we're sending it. And the thing is even 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people that join, let's say a week, adds up over the month. And then, there's so many places. There's Facebook ads, which is not my strength, but it's a thing. Like, you could really work on a great Facebook ad to grow your community. That's an option. And hosting an event and letting people know, like, hey, this is what's going to be going on in this community. Like, we're here talking right now. If we were to share this into a community and be like, if you want to learn more about how to build a branded community and make consistent sales, come join us over here in the community, right? And you could have 20 new people be like, I want to learn whatever they're talking about. I'm coming in, right? So those are a bunch of different ways that you can grow a community.
Thank you for that. I believe that setting up these different ways, and sometimes they like layer upon each other, and sometimes they're just doing their thing in the background. But I took a note. I don't know if you saw me, but on being in your stories twice a week about your group, and then sometimes I'm live on my page, and yet I could be live in the group and be on my profile. Excuse me. I'm live on my profile, but I could instead, I hear what you're saying. I'm listening. That I could be saying, hey, join us in the group. Oh, this is so great. I think it's all those little things that strategically, that when we're just putting it out there, that we're driving people to the community. So thank you. These are great ideas.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about this one because this issue. So now we're talking about how to get it started, how to bring people in. We talked about growing it, but then what happens? Sometimes the crickets come. So the engagement, it's like, where is the engagement? So how can you help us keep the engagement alive and keep the engagement going? I'm sure there's tons of people who really want to hear about this.
Yep. This is probably the most common question. I actually am doing a workshop for that. So, and it will be recorded. So I will definitely get you that information for literally doing it live with me. But what you want to remember first and foremost, everyone who has, if you have a community right now and you've got 300 people in there, 500 people, 200 people, and you're like, nobody's talking, I don't know what I'm doing here. Why am I wasting my time? Let me start by saying they came to hear from you when you put this together. They wanted to hear from you. So it is on us, first and foremost, to bring the energy and the hype and the excitement to the group when you're showing up. Do I think you need to show up every single day? I feel like that's really up to you, how you want to run your group. If you want to post a couple times a day, if you want to do it a couple times a week, you really can work with your own rhythm on that and decide like what's sustainable for you, what makes sense for you. The other thing that's really important is going live at least once a week, at least once, because this right here, you're getting to know me, you're hearing a little bit more about like what this method is about, how it's helped. And suddenly your like ears are perked up even more because you're like, oh, wow, this makes sense to me. Whereas if I'm just posting, if I'm just talking in text, it may translate, it may not, it really depends, but it's important that they get to know you because at the end of the day, if you want people, to hear you speak and to buy your books, they really have to know, like, trust you and really understand what the message is you're getting across. So they know like, oh yeah, this is totally for me. So going live is going to help that. And when they know, like every single Monday, she's in the group at 10 a.m., they know they'll get trained and they'll know to like start to make time for you. They'll know to check for the recording if they need to. They'll interact. They'll ask questions ahead of time where they're even if your live is informal. I always say like you can have planned, scheduled, thought out events, live streams, things like that. But you could also be going for a walk and something comes up that you want to pop in and tell them, and you're like sweaty because it's hot out, and you're not, dressed for a nice professional live. That's okay because they are humans too, and they're like, oh yay, like I can connect to you, especially if there's mothers involved and they're at home, can I do what they do? Can I get to that level knowing the level I'm at right now at home? Like I've got little ones and it's just a lot going on. Like when they see, so do I, me too. Like the laundry is crazy over here. That's a huge connector because they're like, okay, you're like me. We get each other. And the trust and the relationship and the connection becomes even better. And we all know like sales, customers, clients, they a big part of why they want to hear us, why they want to buy from us comes back to that more than it does like the professional side of things. So it's important to really mix that in, but that's how you do it.
I love that. I love that so much. And we get to choose how much we want to show up and how much energy. But I think that, yes, just being us. I talk a lot about like the idea of what a speaker life is. And a speaker life is everything from getting dressed up and getting the outfit and going out to speak to it's working on the slides, working on the speech, it's booking the engagements, it's doing the promotion, right? Getting your promotion info to your VA and all the things and just being able to, and then how about just kicking it back with your family, right?
Right.
Just speaker life. What is it? Making sure that you're walking and taking care of yourself. And I get it. I appreciate, it's wonderful having you here. Wonderful getting to know you better, seeing what you teach. And as we close this out, I have links. They kind of jumbled up, guys, so bear with me, but they're in there in the links. And Lyndsi is inviting us to her course she talked about. She's inviting us, smart, to her community. And she has that workshop information too, if you would like to engage her and learn more, because I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more. We go more depth for sure.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure that you can connect with her here on Facebook or wherever you're seeing our lives. So Lyndsi, I want to thank you. I look forward to staying in the conversation with you. I look forward to hearing more from you, learning more from you, and because we all want to expand our communities, and that's why we're here. We're here to serve others and make a big impact. So you're right. Group size matters, but it doesn't, and we all want bigger, stronger, larger, thriving communities.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being my guest today on Supporting Speakers Live.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it has been my pleasure. And as we head out today, speaking of, she'll be so proud of me. Just a reminder for you all to join our free Facebook community, Supporting Speakers Everywhere. You can do it right here, typing in supportingspeakers.group. We would love to connect with you, whether you are an emerging speaker, a veteran speaker. We have the community to support you in your endeavors. So thank you, Lyndsi. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time at Supporting Speakers Live. Bye, everybody.